Support for this show, Politics Done Right, comes from politicsdoneright.com, publishers of How to Make America Utopia, Take Away the Economy from Those Who Rigged It, As I See It, Class Warfare, The Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom, It's Worth It, How to Talk to Your Right-Wing Relatives, Friends, and Neighbors, and other books written by Egberto, Willies. Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right. Welcome to Politics Done Right. My name is Egberto Willies, your host. Good morning, Houston. Good morning, Harris County. Good morning to the great state of Texas. Good morning to Northeast Texas, Southeast Texas, Northeast Louisiana, Southeast Louisiana, or what should I say? Northwest Louisiana, Southwest Louisiana, wherever our 100,000 watt signal penetrates, permeates to the radios, to all these different devices that you still use to get these signals, of course. Welcome to the world who, because of the magic of the internet, we can get to every nook and cranny there is. Anyhow, folks, we're going to have a great show for you today. Yesterday, I had a couple of rants on I don't know if they were both yesterday, on my 3 o'clock show that I want to play if we have the time today here, because, again, we have a lot of issues that we need to kind of get with us. But before we go into all of that, we have to go to the geniuses in the studio, which really make things happen with all that goes on. They make things happen day in, yes, day out. Day in, day out.
Overnight, daytime, anytime, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. We bring you radio for your listening pleasure. And you got a couple of, you were ranting yesterday?
Oh, man. Yesterday was one of those days when, well, you see, a friend of mine called me up, right? And he was all disillusioned and, talking about, what they expect of our kids and all of that. And then he said, they expect all of this from our kids, but then look at what they allow to occur in the country. And it kind of just made me snap. But anyway, not snap, but you know what I mean.
That's about right. I mean, look, we're killing the future generation. We pollute their minds. We make them learn stuff they'll never use. I mean, school should be more vocational. Teach them how to do something. Teach them how to make a living. Teach them how to balance a checkbook. How to make sure that their car has plenty of gas in it. I mean, come on. Usable life skills, not the nonsense that they teach them, which is just crazy to me. No rants from me this morning. My Barry White voice has gone away, so I guess I'll just have to contend with the regular voice here. And Jack, you got some wisdom here. Looks like you got a full page there. So I don't actually have anything to say. Just throw it to Jack.
Good morning, Egberto. How are you?
Good morning, Jack. All good? All good?
Yeah. I heard the news yesterday. I hadn't really been paying attention, but the Earth's cooling conveyor is slowing down in our oceans. And this is dead serious right here. Not only are we facing the rise in fascism, the climate deniers have put us 30 years behind the curve to do the right things to combat climate change. Newsflash. The Earth's cooling conveyors in our oceans is slowing down as the Earth heats up. People, in reality, this is the end game. We better all put on our big boy and big girl panties, knuckle down, and get ready to accept some sacrifices humanity will have to make to survive all of our climate catastrophe.
I'm just concerned about the zombie apocalypse coming. That this could be part of it. Jack, you know what I think? I think the Earth is trying to kill us.
Well, the Earth is trying to protect itself.
Yeah, protect itself from us.
Yes.
Well, the dinosaurs went by way of the dinosaurs. And, early man went by the way of, antiquity and death. And it could be our turn coming up next. This could be the end of it all. I mean, if we start to cook underneath the sun, which we're doing right now. I mean, have you been outside? It's just,
and this is early summer.
This is early summer. We're already hitting 100 degrees. So this is pretty crazy. And the Earth's conveyor belt of cooling and the oceans, we need that. We definitely need that. I don't know what I'm talking about. Go ahead. Go ahead, Egberto.
Well, let me tell you, folks, that Gulf Stream issue is serious. And unfortunately, too many people don't take this stuff seriously. But, the weather that you have in Europe that is quite a bit milder than its latitude says it should be is because of the Gulf Stream. A lot of people don't get it. We have lived through these patterns, or rather, these patterns exist for and create certain types of lifestyles in different areas because of our current state of climate. I don't know when we are going to understand that science matters and that there are some people who don't really care much about it. Anyway, Billy Allison Irwin is in the chat. Good morning, Billy. Great to have you here. Yesterday, I noticed you came in at 3:00 late. I think we were over when you came in yesterday. I wanted to drop you a line, but by then I had shut all the systems down when I saw your message. Anyway, folks, we are going to have a great show for you today. The title of the show today is Alito exposed as a political hack. MAGA kid will grow up. Values deficient. I should say MAGA kids, not MAGA kid, but MAGA kids will grow up. Values deficient. And take back the commons. So those were the latter two were two rants that I'm going to, if I get a chance to play, depending on how many people call, I will. Anyway, Tag is already on the line. The telephone number is 713-526-5738, 713-526-5738. And we take calls all the time. We adjust the show for you because you are what matter. So let's go to Tag. Good morning, Tag.
Good morning, Egberto. I was curious about a political speech in Nevada this weekend. Did you hear about it?
Which one? Let me see if I
heard about it. It's all over the papers, all over the news, all over social media.
Oh, you're talking about Donald Trump. Donald Trump, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't care about you. I just want your vote.
Yeah, I saw that.
Oh, the burning question right now is if your electric boat is sinking, do you take a chance and stay with the boat and get electrocuted from the batteries, or do you jump in the water with the sharks and get bitten by the sharks? That seems to be the burning political question right now. So I don't really know how to answer that. I mean, it's the risk of being electrocuted from your batteries on your electric boat seems to be quite a big issue.
Well, I mean, he asked all the wrong questions from an electrical standpoint. First of all, I don't think the batteries, the volt level, the battery is DC. I don't think the level of shock that he thinks is going to come, while the amperage is going to be high, the potential is going to be low. But, I don't expect Trump to know that. So what can I say?
Well, that's the thing. It's like out of all the questions that our country is facing currently, why would a great political leader be thinking about that? I mean, I just don't understand. It's crazy.
Well, I mean, why would a political leader, the thing that Howard just brought up, I don't care about you, I just want your vote. And the thing about it is people have learned to not take him by his words. I mean, he lies and he says so many different things that people just don't look at Trump for his words. They look at Trump, I think, for what he represents, and that is sticking it to those people we believe have stuck it to us. And it doesn't make any sense to me. But when he goes out there, he talks a lot of gibberish, and he doesn't make any sense. But again, people have learned to disregard all of that tag. And I tell you that I think that is where I think we have to solve this problem. Not look, myself and Howard and others that have a platform here can go out there and say certain things, but ultimately we are going to have, all of us collectively have to save ourselves. And I sit down there sometimes and say, well, the most interesting, one of the most interesting discussions I have are with engineers who support Donald Trump. And you can imagine what that sounds like. It always surprises me that these guys would simply disregard some of the things that he says. And then you ask yourself, why? I have some sort of ideas. But anyway, Tag, what's up? What else is up?
Well, when you said about sticking it to the people who they feel are sticking it to them, it just made me think about what they said to Fauci in the House of Representatives last week. It's like grilling him about COVID again. And I think it's a shame because, somebody needed to be doing something about COVID, and Fauci was the guy doing it. And they're still trying to make Fauci responsible for COVID. I don't understand where the Republicans are going with all this. They're just trying to raise fear in everybody's minds, I think.
Well, leadership is so important in the world. And I tell you, when you look, there's some people that are independent thinkers. They don't need to go with the flow. They don't need to go with one of the problems with progressives is the following. Why you can't round up progressives many times is because they are too independent in their thinking. So whereas you'll say X, Y, and Z, let's follow the path, they'll say X makes sense to me. Y makes no sense. In fact, Y is, and that's why you get this mosaic of ideas, because again, people don't just follow it or drop in line. But when you go ahead and look at the right wing, it's like the leader says something and every single person follows. That is the reason why you see they like pastors, they like dictators, they like these kinds of things, because again, dictators have proven that they can get a mass of people to follow them unequivocally. People in America many times look at dictators as, progressive-minded people look at dictators as that's a bad thing, and they're oppressing their people. No, it's not that they're oppressing their people. Their people have learned that dictatorship is what it's what they stand for. If you take a look at when Omar Torrijos Herrera took over Panama, he was a dictator, but he was what I call the benevolent dictator, and that modal lasted for a long time until that framework changed. It's going to be the same thing people are people. It's going to be the same thing in the United States. To some, Donald Trump represented sticking it to people we wanted to stick it to, but couldn't do it on our own. And until that failed horrendously, in my opinion, it's going to be hard dragging Donald Trump out of these people's psyche. Tag, give me a closer.
Yeah, with this, I'll go. It seems to me like it's all about fear mongering on the right side. Just anything to try to make people afraid. So Thanks, Egberto. Have a great day.
Thank you, my brother. All right, before I go to my tape, Harry's on the line. I haven't heard from Harry in a couple of days. Harry, how are you doing, my brother?
Oh, I'm doing good, Armando, Egberto, Professor Willies. I just was enjoying yesterday's show. Love what the mayor of politics done right said when he talked about and then Jack mentioned it again this morning about the conveyors, it's flowing in the ocean, and the earth is trying to protect itself because of the climate change, or, unfortunately, is man and has changed the climate. And then you've got these climate deniers out here. But I really wanted to comment on two things. What Howard talked about at the beginning of yesterday's show, when I talked to him length about this last week when I was in the post office. He was talking about Joseph Goebbels, and when a lie is told, and if it's told and repeated over and over, and the Republicans do such a wonderful job of doing that, unfortunately, people will tend to believe it. And as Tag was talking about there with the Trump speech, and I was listening to some of that stuff yesterday when they were talking about it on NPR, and he was there. It wasn't Donald Trump when COVID hit the United States shores. I remember in 2020 Donald Trump talking about it was it's a common cold. And then later that year, he was told us to drink bleach when COVID was really getting out of control and taking lives. And Dr. Fauci, as Tag was talking about that, they want to blame Dr. Fauci. He and a lot of Trump's advisors were saying, look, you have to do something about this, Mr. President. And I remember Tom Hartman was talking about it at that time. He was saying when he would get on an airplane or he'd go to restaurants, he would make sure he and his wife, Louise, had N95 masks. And they weren't even issuing those masks until more and more people died. Then eventually, I think it was in July when Trump's presidency was in trouble and we were on lockdown, then he started doing something. Let's spend the taxpayers' money on Moderna, on Pfizer to come up with these vaccines. That's when he started doing something. And I do recall Trump saying, it's a chinky virus. It's Kung Flu. So hurling all those racial epithets at Asians. And then a lot of Asians, I can remember at that time, people were beating, I think I remember seeing something on the internet or at a restaurant. They went into a Vietnamese restaurant and a Chinese restaurant. They were beating on these people because
he created a lot of chaos, and he didn't solve there's a lot to talk about COVID, but give me your other point, Harry, because I need to get to the video.
Sure. Yeah, and I'm sorry that you snapped yesterday, Berto, on your 3:00 show. I'm looking forward to hearing your rants. I'm also looking forward to when you get a chance. When you play that. You mentioned that a few months back. You're gonna play that William Barber video because you haven't played that yet with the poor.
Okay. I forgot it. I said that I need to. I thought I played it at KPFT already, but what I need to do is bring it because Barber has a new book out. In fact, I probably am going to try to get Barber on again live to talk about the new book that he came out with, which has to do with the real poverty in America and how we've used poverty to separate people, but in reality, if we use poverty to unite folk, to show folks what's really happening. Anyway, I'm glad you brought that up because I need to call him up and say, hey, let's go ahead and do this. So I'm going to do that. But Harry, let me go ahead and do the video and.
All right, I'll listen. Okay, Howard, you and Jack have a good day, along with Professor Egberto Willies.
Muchas gracias, hermano. Have a great day. Anyway, folks, this is yesterday a friend called me. Actually, let me just let the video say it because I think I mentioned that in the video. So let's go ahead and get busy. I'll tell you something that happened over the weekend with somebody that called me. I'm trying to remember who it was right now. They were very disappointed. And they said, I know who it was. This was one of my brothers from Panama. And he said the following. And it touched me when he said it. He said, you and I have kids. Our kids are fairly grown now. But all these people that you see, MAGA folks, they have kids. And he said, we sit at home trying to be an example to our kids, right? So I tried to live my life in such a manner that my kid could look up to her dad and be proud of what she saw. I tried my best to lead by example. As a Afro-Latino Caribbean man in America, I have other burdens because there are consequences that this affords me. And the consequences being that in many things, I have to work harder twice as hard for a lesser result than the average. When my daughter was going to school here in Kingwood, when she was going to college, I told her the same thing. Be prepared to work twice as hard for half as much. But be prepared to work. People, look, make yourself the example. And then we got an Obama. And this is all the things that was inferred by my buddy. We got an Obama. One wife, 2 kids, stayed together for decades, or have stayed together for decades. She went to school, got a higher education. Both of the parents did. Made sure that to keep an insular family. Made sure that as they went into the White House, they kept an insular family, a mother that came to take care of folks as well. Make sure the kids were rounded. Make sure the kids had an example to look at. Did the right thing. And we had those on the right that were into Obama's skin as if he wasn't that good American that he is. And I'm not an Obama fan on policy completely because I think Obamacare was done incorrectly. But that's okay. The thing is that he lived the life America said, this is what the kind of person we want to look up to. He got 2 terms. America did right. Now, compared to the people he ran against. Now, McCain was a good guy. McCain served the country well. But McCain had some issues. But Romney, he was a corporate raider. Romney, yes, he's a corporate raider that did so many bad things. But now comes Trump. And it's bad enough that Trump has some support of relatively wealthy people on the right. But the thing that most people should be most concerned about is that when the evangelical movement came on and supported Trump, even though, remember, in the beginning, they wanted to have nothing to do with him. He was too immoral. He was too corrupt. He slept with prostitutes. He had several baby mamas. He just was a philanderer. He did all these things that the evangelicals people speak up against, that purportedly the Bible speak up against. All these bad things this guy does. He was not the family guy that Obama was. He was not that nurturer that Obama was. Black man, Donald Trump, white privilege. He could say anything. He could do anything. Absolutely anything. He could cheat a charity, a slap on the wrist. He could stiff his employees, take them to court and let them, and it's all by attrition. He could go ahead and have a university that doesn't, all the immoral things that he did to people, all these immoral things that he did to people. And evangelical says, yeah, but God sent him. That's what God sent. Your God sent him so that your children, who you tell, don't be philanderers' children, don't be prostitutes' children, don't be whoring children, don't be sexually promiscuous children, don't do, all these things that you tell your children. You try to live so that your children have something to live up to. And then the president of the United States, he not only does all these things or do all these things, he's not only goes with prostitutes. He doesn't only stiff people, rip people off, grab women by their. He doesn't only do these things. He's proud of it. He talks about it. And then you have to tell your child, MAGA, that's the president. That is who God sent us. That is of God. There's a piece that I wanted to clip today from a former writer in conservative papers that he said the evangelical church pretty much canceled him. I may do that piece tomorrow. But you think about this, your children, the children that you are asking, you are telling your children, be good, be respectful, do the right thing. But we want Donald Trump as president. We want the guy who rapes women as president. We want the guy who grabs women by their crutches as president. We want the guy who stiffs you as an employee, as a contractor for him. We want the guy who rips off his own charity for personal gain. We want to have the guy who steals from university as your president. If you want to know the degeneracy of our society and why so many people throw their hands up in the air and said it doesn't pay to be good. It doesn't pay to do the right thing, because doing all the wrong things gave this privileged man the presidency of the United States. And he is running again as a potential former president who could potentially become president if I don't do my job right. And all progressives out there trying to remind people about who this person is if they don't do the job. So I hope all of you that talks about morality, that likes to put down, and many of you in this chat, that always trying to find an issue with a black person doing something, or a Latino doing something, or a Muslim doing something that is away from what you think is the right thing. Donald Trump fulfilled the circle because he's done it all. He's done it all. He has done it all. And there are people who think it is okay to vote for him. If that isn't the height of immorality, I don't know what is. But it speaks more about those who will vote for him than him himself, or those who make the right call. Anyway, that was my rant of the day. When my brother called me and said, how am I supposed to deal with my kids? And my kids said, it doesn't, a lot of kids now are saying, what the heck? It doesn't pay to do good. Look, there's President Trump. He did it all the wrong ways, and he's getting rewarded for doing it. He is getting rewarded for doing it. So remember that, folks. Remember that. Absolutely. So back from my rant. And, the thing about it is, when you think about doing wrong, it's not all, we hit the president because he does all these things that, and by the way, folks, we're taking calls, 713-526-5738. Again, that number is 713-526-5738. You can call, comment, whatever you will. But, it's not only people, when you learn how to put a facade onto evil, when you learn how to try to make a terrible thing seem true, or seem moral, or seem right, you start to lose it. We talk about our economic system. We have an economic system as well that feeds itself on taking advantage of others. But we frame it in such a manner from the time you were born. It's bad enough what Donald Trump has done. It's bad enough what he has done. But when you are framed on a lie, when your existence is a lie, and that's what I'm saying, an economic system we revere under false pretenses that by design make you poorer. And I know there are about 20% of people that do very well, 10% that do extremely well, and 1% that does extraordinarily well. And then we ignore and forget about the bottom half, and we forget that the 50 to 75% percentile or so are in dire straits, but we don't look at what the real problem is or solution. That's immoral. But we are so trained in our thinking. For those of you who attack MAGA, and my thing isn't an attack on MAGA. My thing is a framing of our minds. When you go ahead and say, well, look, MAGA does this and MAGA does that, to every progressive out there not fighting for an economic system that works, not fighting for a healthcare system that works, that defends a healthcare system that fails, that defends an economic system that put 60-something% of people a paycheck away from poverty. When you see that, how different are we than those some of us would criticize for their Trumpian beliefs? I want us to look at all those issues, because that's what I hope we can tackle in these programs, where we say we blow the status quo. We go ahead and we say we are going to think independently on what's best for us all. I see Brother Joe. Joe, I'm going to ask you to hold a bit, because there's a woman that came on, and so let's go to Betty, and then I'll cycle. Come on, Betty.
Hi, Alberto. you're talking about Trump, and he's an abuser and a racist. And the reason people listen to him is because they don't want to hear about the vacation. They don't want to hear about your broken arm. They want to hear about who screwed up. And he, and that's that's the game he plays. And, but anyway, he's, and being a racist, I lived in a black neighborhood. It was white and it turned black. And I lived there for 15 years and grew up with 4 boys. And they brought hurt animals to me and birds. And my mother-in-law, she taught them how to plant trees and flowers and garden. It was a beautiful thing, living with blacks. And that is together. A lot of people, you have to do together to be with together. I have Spanish neighbors. Huh? Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Betty. I'm sorry. No, I interrupted. Go ahead, please.
No, I want to hear what you say because I have Spanish. Right now, I live to Spanish, and there are 3 boys and 1 girl. I grew up with them, and then I went to 3 boys. I took care of the 3 white boys, and so kids, we love them. We have them. We got to have them, and don't put Trump in there on them. A lot of kids say, well, they ask their parents about what is Trump or whatever, and they'll say, oh, they're just saying that and doing that to hurt him. Oh, come on.
I mean, the truth of the matter is it's out there for everybody to see, Betty. But Betty, first of all, let me just tell you, I love what you said. You lived in a white neighborhood that turned black and you stayed.
Yes.
Let me just say something that I think is important for understanding, right? That you stayed because you realize that everybody put their pants on the same and people all care about their kids and people all love and people all do these things. That reminds me of the story that my wife told one time going to her bunco here in Kingwood when this one of her white neighbors went ahead and broke down in a black neighborhood, and the fear that she was in and what all she got in the neighborhood was a bunch of love, guys there to protect her until the truck came and all of that. And to her it was a shock. To us it was like, what did you expect? What you see on TV? Is that what you expected? Because you see what the producers on TV would have America believe about different groups of people in this country. That's going to be the behavior. I had my own prejudices of what behaviors would be before and have been silenced before. People are people. And if we give people a chance to be people, and if we get together as people, we can actually solve the problem. So, Betty, first of all, thank you for calling. I hadn't heard you before. Thank you for calling. Keep listening. Please share and let other folks know, hey, there's a program here that speaks to everybody.
Yeah. Okay. Be good. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Have a great one, Betty. All right, let me go to my brother, Joe. Come on in, Joe. How are you doing today this morning, sir?
Oh, I'm pretty good, Egberto. How about you, man?
I'm fine. Talk to me.
Man, when I hear you that fired up, man, I feel like I need to go look out into the media and see what Trump's done now to get everybody all worked up, or at least you. But this last caller is a great example. And you mentioned it yourself. The TV has told people what to think and what to do, right? Well, the TV has told a lot of people. The TV, while Trump was president, I had to look at CNN every single day, because it was on the wall in the cafeteria. And every single day it was scrolling across the bottom. Trump is bad. Trump is evil. Trump is bad. Trump. For every day of his presidency, they beat you down with the horror of Trump. But, look, the lady's concerned about kids, right? Well, I'm concerned about my kids too. And the latest, there's a Democrat rule on the House floor. We're just going to skip selective service and we're going to register your kid for the draft for you, right? And save, millions of dollars with this wasteful process. I'm worried about war, Egberto, and feeding the war machine, which is what, Biden is, there's nothing especially evil about him. He's just part of the American system that does, that thrives on war around the world. It's part of our business model. So, when you say it's immoral to vote for Trump, well, yeah, he's not the greatest guy. He's a freaking normal person who puts his pants on one leg at a time. he's probably not proud of everything he's done.
Can I ask you a question? May I interrupt you a second?
No,
I try not. Okay, go ahead.
I want to ask one thing. What about those statistics that I mailed you, Egberto? The death statistics that show that the number of people killed in sovereign and non-sovereign type wars. You said you never got it, but that is the strongest argument you can make for voting for the lesser of two evils, who is Donald Trump, to save the kids, man, because we're headed to war and everyone can see it.
Okay. First of all, let me tell you something that I learned over the years. There's a president of the United States, and then there's a presidency. And in effect, what Donald Trump has the ability to do based on what he's doing with the different departments based on Project 2025 is changing the presidency. But that said, before I get into answering that specific question, because I will take your word as far as people dying in wars during the Biden era versus the Trump era. And then, Israel alone is 30-something thousand people dead with the support that we give to Netanyahu for the bomb. But then again, Donald Trump wants to give, according to what he says, he wants to give Netanyahu carte blanche. Okay. Now there are a few things that I said it again.
Look at their track records. So just look at their track records. The numbers don't lie.
No, look.
10 times the death that Trump's did.
Let me tell you, I don't know why it is that I didn't get your document, but I follow a whole lot of news, not only locally but internationally, and I would like to see what they're counting as Biden deaths. I would really like to see that. So again, if you can send me that thing to info@politicsdoneright.com, I want to see that because I consider that a talking point, and I want to make sure that my assessment of that is correct. And if it's wrong, I'll come to you and tell you I'm wrong. I have no problem with that, Joe, at all. I do think that a lot of people that are supporting Donald Trump, may I finish? A lot of people that are supporting Donald Trump. Okay, a lot of people that are supporting Donald Trump have a difficulty in seeing the wrong that he does and get defensive whenever we start to talk about these issues. I laid out in the rant that I gave a whole lot of stuff that I think makes Donald Trump not someone that deserves serving the country. But in a democracy, people have to make that choice. I don't understand, and I am frank with you. You are a smart sounding person, very smart. I just don't understand the inner part of you that accepts something from Donald Trump. I am positive you would not have accepted from an Obama. You definitely would not accept from a Biden, etc. I'm trying to, and by the way, it's not only you. I have a family member that you guys are going to hear an interview that I did with them as well, that isn't far removed from some of the things that you say. And so it would be interesting for that. So when I told you before, and the lines are really full. When I told you before that I want to have at some time, maybe a 15-minute go back and forth. And maybe, in fact, we do that offline where I tape it so that I can clean up both what you and I say, of the excessive words that don't add to the discussion. Maybe we should do that sometime, because I think that would make sense for our audience altogether. Don't you think?
Sounds good, man. I'm in, and
we'll talk.
It's not that I love Trump or whatever, but check it out.
I get it, Joe. I get it. I get it. Joe, I get it. I really understand that. I don't look at you as evil at all, and I think I've made that clear before.
Yeah, I'm not evil, but
I know you're not.
I can spot the lesser of two evils, big time, man.
That is where we got. That is where I want to analyze your mind. You can do the same to me, but we'll talk another time, Joe. Thank you very much for calling in, sir.
Okay, later, man.
All right, let's go to Donald. Come on in, Donald.
Hey, good morning, Egberto.
Good morning, my brother from another mother. Talk to me.
Have you ever been around a barrel that people burn stuff in and you're getting warm? I think
yeah.
It's kumbaya feeling because somebody's peeing on the barrel. And now everybody's
You always have some stuff like that to say, Donaldo.
Okay, Howard is 100% right. We do not teach our children correctly. I gave you the example the other day of Pythagorean theorem and the carpenter's right wall. It's like square footage. We should teach kids how to calculate square footage by giving them an example, and there's no application. They want us stupid because most people only get to a certain point in education. They want you to be dependent on them.
Hey, Donald, you nailed it. They want us stupid. That's why we have Politics Done Right, because we educate ourselves together. All right, man? Hey, lines are filling up. Got to go.
Trump is a flawed human. He is a flawed human. He's human. But we get entertainment out of him. And you know what? He is about, I would say, 30 to 35% of the male population, because there's a reason that people get divorced. There's a reason we have I got baby mamas, and I paid every stinking one of them.
But you know, you just said it. You paid it, brother. Hey, Donald, my lines are filled up. I love you, man. I gotta go.
Go ahead. I'll talk to you later. Yes,
all
sir.
right. Let's go. Let's go to brother Steve. Steve, you're hot.
Hey, brother Egberto. Good morning. I think Joe and Donald are pretty close to it. It's not that he's like the lesser of two evils. He's might be the molester of two evils.
Go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, and with talking to you, they might get there. Anyway, your evangelical rant kind of is something I've been thinking about for a long time. I do go to church like Harry, and everybody in church that I go to and hang out with different churches, they do not see the little Donald as, you know, someone who represents Jesus or God. They see him more as someone who represents like the worst in society. So I would probably advise you to not completely attack the evangelicals, because you might be feeding into the hands of the people in power, because power, just like the Spanish Inquisition, you know, was that about Jesus? Was that about Christianity, or was it about power? The same thing here. All the people are more for power, and so if they divide us, then they get to retain the power. We are not victims of power unless we lend or give our power to the powerful. That's my rant for the day.
Let me go ahead and answer that, because I think you are absolutely right that I need to make a correction. And that is, when I speak about the evangelical church, I'm talking about those fixated and telling their pew that, in fact, this is a man sent by God for them at this time to run this country. And there are churches right now that are preaching that, including the church that family members of mine go to. So you're correct. When I shouldn't generalize when I'm speaking. When I say this, I'm speaking about the leadership of evangelicals who preach what I ranted about. So I think that's important correction that I needed to make, brother Steve. All right.
Oh, great. I think that's, you know, for the people that want more power, they want to use Donald as a tool, but not as somebody they look up to. But I agree. All organizations can be bad. Just depends on who runs them, right?
Right. Thank you, my brother. All right. Let's go to have a great day, sir. Let's go to Art. Art, come on in.
For taking the call. Yep. Every 2 to 3, sometimes 4 elections, you'll have this flip-flop. Going back to the war on terror, the lies that they got us into to go to Iraq, the warmongers from the Republican Party, all the billions of dollars that was made through Halliburton. We all know that. All the war criminals that are just out there living it up. So that was the far right. What produced that? Obama came after that. The far left came after that. And here we are under the far left rule. And now we're getting a far right opponent that looks like he's going to take the office, unfortunately. So it seems like your guy bumps it up to where we're going to do all this for the left, and then we're going to do all this for the right. And it keeps going back and forth. And who suffers? The American people. We have to pick up more jobs. We have to pick up more overtime. And unfortunately, it's just going to continue to escalate. So if this joker gets in, or if that joker stays in, because they're both jokers to me, it's just going to escalate even more. And this happens. That Project 2025, there'll be a Project 2020 or 2035, 2045. All these different projects will continue to alternate for the left and for the right. And it has to stop. It just has to stop because it doesn't seem like it's going to get any better. But that's just my take.
Art, I can't. I hear you. I know that was coming, but let me just say this, okay? It's not going to change unless we choose to educate ourselves on how things really, really work. And there are a whole lot of folks invested now, given the platforms that we still have. Hopefully it'll last. The platforms that we have to do that. So I strongly have a lot of faith in America, an educated America. When people really learn, when people give themselves the opportunity to learn, just like I gave myself the opportunity to learn. I gave myself the opportunity to get a hell of a lot of the, if you will, evil out. So that's my strong belief. And I do believe we're going to get a shock in November. And I think that shock is, if my theory is correct, we are going to get a quick switch in people just waking up starting in October, but we'll see. Let's go to Brother Ray. Come on in, Ray. Come on in. How are you doing, my dear brother?
Well, under the weather. I actually been traveling. I came in from Chicago, so I guess all of the, traveling might have, had an effect on my immune system. But,
I hope you're feeling better.
Yeah, well, I do too. Just got to drink some tea and tough it out because I got to go to work later.
I hear you, brother.
To the point of Joe, when I heard Joe speaking, when I heard him, I heard one thing that you don't like to acknowledge, Egberto. And what I heard from him was white fear. And that's unfortunate for him because he seems like an otherwise smart guy. And I agree with him. I don't want war any more than anybody else. But, if you were having if you look at, I love the measuring stick you use, basically saying, if you compare Trump to Obama, or if you compare any other president to Trump, the flaws are, it's about a standard. And America needs to pick a standard that they can live with. And Obama was a great standard. Trump is a horrible standard. That's why these MAGA kids are not going to have anything to look forward to. And, when it comes to what Joe was saying, I hear him, like I say, on the anti-war thing. But if you're going to pick Trump as the lesser of the two evils, look, if the election was a bus line and you said, okay, I'm going to take the Biden bus. The Biden bus is a little slower. The brakes will squeak a little bit, but it's dependable and it's going to get you where you need to get to. And the driver is actually somebody you can trust. Now here you have the Trump bus. The Trump bus, the driver, he's got a lot of personality. He's got a lot of lights and flair on this bus, but the brakes are a little questionable. So when it comes time to actually stop this bus, you might run into a ditch somewhere. So I want all the people listening to this daggone show to think about that. Which bus do you want to ride into the future? You want the bus that has no brakes, but the driver has the personality and it's all got all kind of lights and flair? Or do you want the slow bus with the squeaky brakes that at least is going to get you where you need to go? And if the driver has the switch out, he's gone. His time is up. He'll let the better driver who has more skill or more stamina get the job done. I don't know where that came from, but
that's a good analogy. I mean, that's a darn good analogy, Ray. And I tell you what, remember how high school girls kind of liked the bad boy until they decided it was time to settle down. And then
America needs to stop acting like a high school girl.
That's where I was about to go. That's where I was about to go. These things have consequences. And when I spoke about MAGA kids and what they have to look up to and who their parents are teaching them is a standard to look up to, right? Because again, whether they tell their kids, well, this is only for the president, they'll say, well, why does that apply? He actually became president. So, I mean, that's the point. But Ray, thank you so kindly for calling, my brother. Hope to see you on the 3:00 show where you always have some good input as well, sir.
All right, Egberto.
Have a good one. Let's go to Brother Johnny. We're coming down on time. Johnny, how you doing, my dear brother? Mayor of Politics and Right, brother from another mother.
No problem on time. If I get it out unimpeded, I know you're good for that. So all these analogies, I don't get the fire barrel analogy, but I do agree that it's always about divide and conquer. And if Ray and I are going to get on a bus, I guarantee you, common sense dictates you see the bus driver if he looks drunk, or if the outside of the bus line says Trump transportation, and they have a reputation in the news for disregarding traffic laws, and they don't believe in safety inspections, the tires might be bald. I say, watch out, no thank you, and I would take the proactive step of taking a gun and shooting holes in the tires to prevent the vehicle from moving forward while I call the cops on him. So, and one last thing, if you try to give Egberto statistics and you're not willing or able to give him source, well then why would we bother listening to anything you have to say? It's a simple fact that even though I can't stand Biden, the choice is pretty damn clear between Biden and a criminal, lifelong con man and career criminal. One thing is certain, no matter who gets into the White House in January, we're going to have to take to the streets either way. And if you're going to have to take to the streets, you don't want to take to the streets with the idea of having to carry guns and knives with you everywhere you go to repel people who don't like you.
Thank you, my brother. You, as usual, always something important to say and add to the conversation. Anything else, Johnny? I got to go to Brian. I know we're running out of time.
I wish Brian would stop the gotcha stuff and come up with solutions and help us figure out how to make the Democrats be a responsive party and ignore his party. His party is deficient. Brian, you know it. At the end of the night, when you're lying in bed asleep,
thank you, Johnny.
You know who and what your party represents.
Thank you, Johnny. All right. Thank you, Johnny. Before I go to Brian, I just want to make a statement, and this important statement. I want to make sure this show is for everybody, and I mean that from the depths of my heart. I don't care if you're MAGA, you're progressive, and everybody. The modus operandi of this country to keep its current economic system is to make sure you break people up into a whole bunch of different competing interests to fight each other, so that you don't really fight the problem. And the problem is generated by a very minute few. This program is for everybody, and everybody here is here for the dialogue. Absolutely. And I mean that from the depths of my heart. Let's go to Brian. Okay. And we'll get to Brian. Yeah. No problem.
Oh, yeah. Brian. Yeah, he's waiting.
Come on in, brother Brian.
Yeah, it sounds like the demographics of your listeners have changed from all extreme left wing to somewhere in the middle, or even more towards the right, because now everybody is saying Biden is not my first choice. So this is not a gotcha question, because I'm not going to go into personal attacks. What president proposed not taxing tips and wages? And who does that help the most? A food server that gets a tip, if you put it on a credit card, it becomes a wage, and they have to pay tax on that. Now, Trump is saying, I want to do away with this. But
yeah,
he's not saying anything about it.
Okay, I tell you what, Brian, you bring a great point up. A great point up what he said yesterday about not charging on tips. We'll talk about that tomorrow. I have a new caller here. I think it's a new caller, Veteran Donald. I want to get to that person before I get off the show, but let's talk about that tomorrow. I promise you, if you heads me up, we'll do it. Okay. Thanks. We're at the end of it. Thank you, brother. Veteran Donald, real quick. I only got a few seconds.
Okay. Are we on?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What happens here, the show is too early for me to actually get in here and make some really good common sense. What I do is put a finger monitor on for heartbeat. My heartbeat is normally about 87 to 88. And when I put it on, I'm listening to your show. People should do this. It goes up to 115, just listening. So what had happened is I'm going to call you earlier, a couple of days here, get back into your show. I'm not happy that Stephen had to leave, but he did what he has to do, and he put his time in. It was great. We had contacted each other at times and had some personal conversations. And the reason I want to talk to you, I guess you know why I put my name in as Veteran Donald, because the other Donald, one time Stephen answered the phone, he thought it was me, but it wasn't. And I just want to say, look, I militaried for 8 presidents. There was a draft. So I signed up while I was in high school, and I got my own job. And I worked for Johnson, Nixon, Ford, Carter, Reagan, Father Bush, Clinton, and W. What the hell don't I know? So we're going to have to talk a little bit, but it'll be another day when we have a little bit
there's going to be an open door for you. Folks, I hear the music. Real quick, 10 seconds, studio.
Thank you.
Nothing from me. Have a good day.
10 seconds.
Do you think Donald J. Trump would be in Ukraine if he was still president? Heck
no.
Yeah.
Thank you, my brother. Anyway, folks, thank you so kindly for being here. Love you all. Got to get out of here. I went a little bit over. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. And you guys know how I end this baby. I am. Support for this show, Politics Done Right, comes from politicsdoneright.com, publishers of How to Make America Utopia, Take Away the Economy from Those Who Rigged It. As I See It, Class Warfare, the Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom. It's Worth It, How to Talk to Your Right-Wing Relatives, Friends, and Neighbors, and other books written by Egberto Willies.
Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right.